Being with us here, we'll ask each coach to begin with an opening statement, and we'll start going down by seeds. First with the number 1 seed, St. John's head coach, Ed Blankmeyer.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be back in Omaha, and it's certainly an honor to be able to play our conference tournament in the home of the College World Series. So our team is excited to participate in this tournament. It's going to be a great weekend of baseball, and I know the people in Omaha will certainly see a very good brand of baseball. And I think any one of these 4 teams are capable of winning this tournament. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Second seeded Creighton Blue Jays head coach Ed Service.
Well, let me start out by congratulating everybody for being here, and especially St. John's for winning the regular season championship. Good job out of you, Coach. And welcome everybody to Omaha. I know the Big East has put a lot of effort into this tournament, and I know our staff has as well, so I think everybody's going to have a great week. The only thing we can't control is this goofy weather, so let's pray that we get some decent weather. I think we'll have some good baseball if we get some decent weather. So congratulations for everybody making it, and I don't know about you, but it's time to get this thing started.
Head coach for the third seeded Seton Hall Pirates, Rob Shepard.
Yeah, just congratulations to the other coaches and teams that are in the championship. We're honored and excited to be part of such a great field, and having the opportunity to play at the home of the College World Series means a lot. And I know it's a great venue for the young men that get the opportunity to compete this weekend, and we're looking forward to a great brand of baseball and leaving it on the field. So I would like to thank host Creighton for their hospitality, and to the city of Omaha as well.
And our number 4 seed head coach from Georgetown, Pete Wilk.
Just to echo what these guys said, congrats to everybody for getting to the tournament. We are obviously pretty thrilled to be here, and really excited to be here, and honored to be here and represent the Big East. And I think you got 4 great coaches here, 3 great coaches here, and then some other guy just got lucky. So we're really looking forward to competing. We're very grateful to the city of Omaha and Creighton for having us here. This is, everybody sees this as a home of college baseball, and there's a big reason why. So we're just really happy to be here and look forward to a good tournament.
Open the floor to questions. Once again, please introduce yourself. John Fanta.
John Fanta, the Big East Digital Network. Coach Blankmeyer, it's one thing to be picked in the preseason to win your conference. It's another thing to actually do it. What does it say about this group?
I think we were consistent. I thought everybody lived up to their abilities, and they performed up to their abilities. I thought we had some guys that really stepped up and had great years. But the tournament is a different animal. We're facing Smith from Georgetown, who's an outstanding pitcher. And I told Pete, even when we were down and played him, I thought it was the best club he's had in quite some time. And they're dangerous, and they're very good, and well coached, and they play hard and play the game the right way. So any one of these teams are here in a tournament setting, you don't know what you're going to get. You got to play good baseball, and little things are going to matter. You're going to be exposed. You make a couple mistakes. So we're going to have to play a real good game and real good games to win this tournament.
Matt
Walker, KTV. Coach Service, how do you explain Raleigh Lacey's success this year from a guy that didn't even make your team last year, redshirted, now he comes out, first team all-conference pitcher?
I wish I had the answer, to be honest with you. It's really neat to see young people when they do something that a lot of folks didn't think they could do. And we certainly didn't think he could do what he did this year. Last year when he was with us, otherwise we'd have had a different plan in mind. But, that's the neat thing about athletics. When you work with these young people, you're not sure what you're going to get. Sometimes they surprise you in a negative way. And in Raleigh's case, he surprised us in a positive way. The credit really goes to him. And I think he learned a lot about himself last summer. And I know a lot of our players go out and play summer baseball, and it's important for us to have as many of our players do that. But, some of them don't take full advantage of it, and Raleigh did. And when he came back in the fall, we had to look twice because we didn't think that was the same guy that left us in the spring. So the credit goes to him, and it just shows you that, if you don't give up on a player, sometimes they can do stuff that we didn't think they were capable of. But the credit solely goes to Raleigh. I'd like to say that we could take some credit for it, but that's not the case. He deserved what he's getting, and he earned it.
To continue with that.
Sure.
The other kind of young guys, DeCaster, Berg, I mean, those guys are all the same age, and they all kind of went through the same process. Is it?
This team is really unique that way. Again, Riley Lacey was our sixth starter at the beginning of the year. Ethan DeCaster did not make the first 2 weekends trips. Dave Gerber did not travel the first 2 weekends. And now those guys are in prominent roles. So again, they deserve a lot of credit because young people so quickly give up on themselves when it doesn't start out right. If they look at the roster, the travel roster the first weekend, oh, I didn't make it. A lot of them start giving up on themselves. A lot of them start looking at alternatives. Can I go somewhere else to play? And when you see kids stay through the process, stick through it, it just gives you, that's what athletics used to be all about. And I think we're quick to get quick fixes now. And when you see guys like DeCaster, Gerber, and Lacey do what they did, it reminds you what the beauty of athletics is all about when kids see this through the process. And those guys deserve a lot of credit. We would not be in this position today. I wonder if we'd even be in a tournament without those three guys. So they deserve a lot of credit.
Next question, Steve Pivovar, World Herald.
This is for Rob. Rob, obviously this season probably didn't unfold the way you would have liked it to. I guess looking back, in your mind, what happened that didn't make it go that way? And then looking forward, what needs to happen over these next 4 days for you guys?
Well, it kind of worked out the way we wanted. We wanted to be back in the conference championship to compete for a title. We didn't have the same success that we had as far as wins were concerned as we had in the past, but we had a lot of adversity that we had to go through, and the team responded. The one thing I will say is, Pete, Georgetown, and Villanova, the last couple of weeks for us were like tournaments, trying to play ourselves in and really competing, and our guys got down to our last out a couple times in a couple games, and we were fortunate enough to come through it. And I think that says a lot about our players answering some of the adversity they had. So moving forward, we're looking forward to tomorrow's game and taking it, cliche, one game at a time. Well, that's the way we've been doing it the last 2-3 weeks.
You got to bring that up again.
Andy?
Andy Kennedy with KTVA in Southern Omaha. For Coach Shepard and for Ed, you guys have, although new to the new conference, structure, you guys have turned into a nice little rivalry, you two schools. Is it nice that you guys are going after it, and what is it about the other that maybe fuels the fire, where you guys really kind of get after each other and compete real hard?
Well, I just say from our standpoint, each weekend's like that. I think that's what the Big East Conference is like. I know for us, Coach Blankmeyer, Coach Wilk, and Coach Service, every weekend is a dogfight. And I think when we had the opportunity to compete here against Creighton and obviously out at Seton Hall, both teams play really hard and they leave it on the field. And I think it's good to have that, I guess, rivalry feel, because quite honestly, I feel that every weekend. I played in this conference as a player, and we've had some different looks as far as the conference is concerned, and it's exciting to have some rivalries built up within the conference itself. I know historically Seton Hall and St. John's have always been one of the strongest rivalries in the conference, and it's good to have some others come through as well.
Rob Anderson?
These three schools have played each other a lot. So I think a lot of folks were anxious to see which school Creighton would kind of tee it off with a little bit more than maybe the normal school or the other schools or whatever. And what we saw last year with Seton Hall and Creighton is, especially on a Sunday, Coach, you remember, it was a back-and-forth game, and it ended on a controversial play, and everybody got excited, and everybody was just like, yeah, that's the rivalry we've been looking for, And it was just a good baseball game, happened to be a tough play at the plate, went our way. These are young kids, they want to be competitive, they want to win, they got excited, we got excited. I don't think it's any more than that. We enjoy intense competition, so whether it's Seton Hall, Georgetown, or St. John's, it don't make any difference to us. We enjoy that. So I think folks are reading a lot into that. And when we went to Seton Hall this year, it was 3 competitive games, and that's where they should be.
Coach Wilk, we just talked to Nick Collins, your first player of the year in Georgetown. What makes him so good?
He's got every tool you want as a catcher and a hitter. He deserves all the credit. He turned himself into what he is today with a lot of guidance from assistant coach Phil Disher. But Nicky can hit. He can hit with power. He's got a great arm. He works hard behind the plate, receives well, blocks well. Up and down the line. This is not a fluke. This is a really talented young man. And the best thing about it is as good a player he is, he's a better person.
Ross, and then John.
Hi, coaches. This is a question for all 4 of you. What's been the impact of the flat seam baseball this season, and have you seen your offensive numbers go up this season? Has there been a difference? Ed, why don't we start with you?
I think a little bit. We still play in a big ballpark that we like, by the way. I know a lot of folks want to see more home runs. We're okay with TD, by the way, so I really, really like the ballpark, so let's get that straight. I think it's created a little bit more offense. What I've noticed more than anything else is the outfielders are playing deeper, so you're able to score more traditional runs with a runner on second base and a base hit to the outfield. You can score that, man. Where the last couple of years, it was 50-50 whether he was scoring or not. So there's not going to be a lot more home runs in TD. I think there'll be more doubles, more triples, but you'll see more runs scored because the outfielders have to play deeper. So there's not going to be this this very little room between the outfielders and the infielders. I think that's what I've noticed, especially when we play at home. I think we hit a total of, did we hit 7 or 8 home runs this year? So that's thanks, because I don't even pay attention to it, to be honest. So it really hasn't affected us much. I really like the game the other way, too. And I'm not going to get into this, should we have a low seam ball, a high seam ball, should we do this, should we do that, should we move the fences in? I've never concerned myself with that for 30 seconds. You tell me where we're going to play, what ball we're going to use, what bat we're going to use, I'll figure out a way to try to be successful. Because it's not my spot to make judgments on all that stuff. There's a lot smarter people out there doing that than I. So I'm just going to deal with whatever they have. We got a good game. The college game is really good, and you're going to see some really good players play it this weekend. So whether it's a high seam ball, low seam ball, it's a good game.
For us, we also play in a larger field as well, and like Ed, I think your style of play has to kind of be contoured to your ballpark as well as the talent that you have. And I know for us, we like to play to a bigger field, and I think it has led to more base hits and doubles and traditional runs where guys are scoring from second base on a base hit to the outfield. Our home run numbers haven't changed much as well, but I know nationally there's a lot of talk about it. But for us personally, we're just, like I said, we're going to continue to play our style based on our field and the talent that we have in our program.
I'll be honest with you. We probably play at the smallest yard in the conference, and in the fall I was extremely concerned at the difference the ball was going to make. But in the spring, the guys who hit it still hit it, and to me it's not as drastic a change as the bat was several years ago. I think I'm like Ed. I think the game was good before. I wasn't a proponent of the change. However, the change to me hasn't been as drastic as advertised. And playing at the smallest park in the conference, you know, the ball gets out of our yard, but it's still, if you hit it, you got to hit it out. I haven't seen a huge difference. The difference I have seen, I don't know if these guys would agree with me or not, but I think the pitchers' velocities are up a little bit. But I still, you know, to me, it's a great game. College game is a great game, and I'm like Ed. You tell me what the rules are, and we're going to try to find a way to win.
Statistically, I think our power numbers are down. As the expression goes, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. If you've got guys who can hit, they can hit, bottom line. I agree with Ed in the sense that in the past couple of years, they were really, really squeezing the field. I had an opportunity to be here in Omaha for the first first weekend, and it was, you couldn't get the ball over the outfielder's head. It was like watching Little Leaguers play. So I think the outfield depth will change the game a bit. And then from a pitching standpoint, I agree with Pete. I think velocities are up. I think kids that can spin the baseball maybe are down in the sense that, you know, if a kid has an average breaking ball with the low seams, he may have a below average breaking ball. The good breaking ball guys can probably still spin it pretty good. But there's obviously statistically there's more carry on the ball, but it's the player. That's the player. Nick Collins, he's going to hit home runs with a high seam or low seam baseball. Just that's the way it's going to be. And Nunziata, the same way. Didn't affect him.
John?
Coach Wilk, the change in pitching coaches, what Coach Suplee has brought to the table, you're in walks as a staff. You've allowed almost 50 less than last season.
In more games.
What do you think has really been the difference here?
That's you just said it. We stopped giving up free 90s like they were candy. You know, our walks and our hit by pitches, we call them free 90s. We try to limit our free 90s, and that to me that's why we're sitting in the state of Nebraska right now. We stopped beating ourselves with free 90s, and we made people beat us. He's been a huge addition.
Andy?
I think this is for all the coaches. I'm interested, likely just one NCAA tournament bid coming out of this conference. And if you guys could point to one thing that needs to improve to make this a 2-bid, maybe even a 3-bid league, where would you point to? Would it be just obviously winning more games, but recruiting or you know, commitment by the universities or what have you? Where would you go?
Get rid of the RPI.
Get rid of it?
Get rid of the RPI.
Well, you don't like it because?
Because it taints everything. It really does. I'm not saying the formula is inaccurate. I'm not just saying, but you know, judge the teams based on the merit and what they do. And you look at the season, and when you talk about developing a program, and you know, there are basically 3 stages of a season. You have your preseason, okay, in which you have control of what you and who you play. Your conference you have absolutely no control over, and then you have your local schedule where you got to play your local opponents. And in the Northeast sector, in our particular sector, in Rob and I sector, you know, it's not as good as it is in certain areas of the country, no doubt about it. But I just think it taints everything, and it's weighted.
Do you guys agree?
I agree. I know in the past, as far as the league's concerned, I thought we've had a number of teams that could have represented the conference in regional play, and for whatever reason, I think based solely on RPI, we've been limited to 1. But I think there's been a number of teams that could have represented the program, or I should say the conference in regional play the last few years.
Ed, you want to jump in?
Maybe. Yeah, you know, Ed's right. That RPI stuff, you know, I know for you folks as media guys, and gals, you got to talk about something, and that's real important. But I'm watching some games last night, and that's all they talk about. And they don't talk about the personnel. They don't talk about, you know, like Rob's team last year, if I'm not mistaken, won 39 games. You should be in strong consideration with 39 wins. But he wasn't, based strictly on, as Ed talked about, was the RPI. I'm not smart enough to figure out that RPI stuff. I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on it. I'm curious by it, but I think we spend too much time, making all these decisions based on those numbers. If you're not in the top 30, you're not going to have a chance to host, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. And we don't even look at the personnel that's playing. I mean, we played Arkansas a week or so ago. I think Arkansas came in as 48 or 50. Now, if that's the 48th best team in the country, then I shouldn't be sitting up here. I don't know a thing about college baseball. They got some players. They're not the 48th best team. But if you go strictly on that RPI, they're hanging right now as to whether or not they should even get in. And to me, that's the easy way to go about it. I don't know who makes these decisions and selects these teams, but if you got to use RPI, fine, but it shouldn't be the sole reason why a team gets in or doesn't get in. We got to look at the players that are actually playing. And I think we have to do something about our scheduling too. I think we have to seriously look at our scheduling if we want this league to move in the right direction. We have to look at our scheduling. And sometimes that means spending more money, and we might not be able to do that. But I think scheduling is a big part of this as well.
Coach Wilk, do you have anything to add?
I think these guys kind of wrapped up my thoughts as well. I know that I've heard about talking about, upping our schedule and everything. From an under-supported program in the Big East, it's difficult you're dancing a fine line when you're talking about, increasing your expenditures to go play a tougher schedule. I know my boss is sitting in the back of the room wondering what the hell I'm going to say right now, but I mean,
I'll tell you, he needs more scholarships. That's what you're trying to say, I said it for you.
I didn't say that, Dan.
We got time for 2 more questions. I apologize, Coach. Did I cut you off?
No, not at all. Probably saved my butt.
John in the back.
This is for Coach Shepard, and I know we've talked about this a couple times this season, but in a sense, your team has not really been able to take that full peak with how much you've had return, with how much experience these guys have. Last weekend has to be encouraging, but do you feel like the wheels are in the right direction here as you arrive here, and maybe the magic from last weekend could stay on your side?
I think all the coaches have said it. You got to come in and you got to pitch well, you got to play defense, and you have to have your timely hitting. I think last weekend we saw signs of that. For us all season was having the ability to put it all together. And when you get into an environment like this, you get into a tournament, usually the team that plays the best at the right time, gets through it. And that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that our guys are getting to the point, and I know the other coaches feel the same way, that you want to get hot at the right time. And we haven't done it yet, so I'm hoping this is the weekend. So, but there's a great field up here that it's going to make it tough for anyone to get through this tournament. But hopefully this weekend we can put it together.
Keep bringing up last week.
Ed, can you just talk a little bit about the turning point? How important is the getting off on the right foot, winning that first game?
Yeah.
It's crucial, right?
Well, first of all, we're real glad it's a double elimination. We're all glad that it's a true double elimination, which we needed to have. And, it's really challenging. I mean, it puts a lot of pressure, obviously, on pitching. Pitching depth is at a premium. If you come through the losers bracket, I mean, you've got to have somebody kind of step up that maybe didn't do much during the regular season, surprise you, and perform. So all of us are trying to do our darndest tomorrow to avoid coming through that losers bracket, because then you're looking at an additional 1 or 2 more games, and looking at each one of our pitching staffs, I don't know if we can endure that. So that's why we're all going to fight tomorrow, I'm sure, very hard to get to Friday with a W, because it's tough in any kind of tournament format to come through the losers bracket.
Got time for one final question. All right, coaches, thank you for joining us. I'd just ask you to stick around one moment. We'll take a couple pictures with the championship trophy. take a couple pictures with championship trophy.